How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? This is David here with Mac Tutorials 14. This is the 11th episode of our podcast, and in this episode we talk about brand new iOS 8 concept shows what HealthBook application might look like. Apple launches brand new power button replacement program for select iPhone 5 users. iOS 7.1.1 is issued to the public. Jailbreakers still stay away from this update. New unflood jailbreaking virus has the jailbreaking community shaken up. Siri possibly coming to Apple TV. Apple opens up Mac OS X betas to the public. Samsung planning health-related announcement before WWDC. And much, much more. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is David here with Mac Tutorials 14. This is Let's Talk Tech, episode number 11. I have my co-host on the line, Max, from In Other Apple News. He is back with us today from Italy. What's up, Max? How you doing?
Doing pretty well.
How was your trip?
It was good. It was long, but it was fun.
Yeah. How was your week, Max?
It was, decent. How was yours?
Good. I know a lot of a large topic on my mind is the NJ Ask and the ILP, because I did that both this week, and they're major, like, okay, so the NJ Ask is the state testing that we have to do, and then the ILP is like a research project we have to do for school. So it was kind of like a huge week for work this week. But yeah, so anyway. Okay, so you want to start now?
Sure.
All right, so first up on the docket, we have new iOS 8 concept shows what HealthBook might look like. So this is actually, I mean, there was a lot of concept ideas for the iPhone 6, for iOS 8, and there was a lot of people that had that had a similar iOS 8 concept idea. So, basically there was leaks. So basically, there was leaks from a while ago, and we had talked about this in a couple of podcasts back. Where actually on iOS 8, it shows that there's going to be 3 new apps: HealthBook, Preview, and I think Tips. Now I'm not really sure 100%, but some people are saying now that this might actually get pushed back to the next iteration of iOS 8, meaning like iOS 8.1, like iOS 7.1. So we might not see HealthBook, or we might not see some of the new applications that are going to be found in iOS 8 until a little bit later on, which is okay since they still, have to have some development and stuff. So basically, what HealthBook basically is it basically integrates with the iWatch, and basically it allows you to check your blood pressure, how many steps you walked for the day or whatever, and it's really powerful, and it's going to be really big, especially in the medical industry with diabetes and stuff. That way, I know a lot of people that have diabetes, and I know people that would be, really thankful that this exists, and I know they would go out and buy it because they would no longer have to prick their fingers to be able to check their blood pressure. They would simply just be able to press a button, and the sensor on the iWatch would integrate with the sensor on the iPhone, and the new HealthBook application, and it would tell them what their blood pressure is, how many steps they walked for the day, stuff like that. So it's a very cool application. So that's it basically for HealthBook. So what do you think about this, Max?
Well, HealthBook can help many people in many different ways, seeing as if it does like all these different things from like hydration to your weight, which even then that can be something that can be mind-blowing if like your phone can tell you how much you weigh. And
that'd be really cool.
And hydration is like another thing. Like it can tell your thirst rate and tell how thirsty you are.
Well, again, I mean, I don't know how much of this is going to be in iOS 8 day 1. Certainly, I think they have a lot They got it. They might have to delay HealthBook. I think that might be what they're talking about. Since it integrates with the iWatch, we're not supposed to see the iWatch until a little bit later this year. So it would make sense if iOS 8 is going to come out sometime in October, and the iWatch would be slated right around for the holidays. Then maybe they would wait until the iWatch was out to release HealthBook. So that's just something to think about. That way they can fine tune, everything, because right now both iWatch and iOS 8 are probably in beta testing right now in Apple headquarters. What I would do to go to Cupertino and just see that right now. But anyway, so yeah, iOS 8 is going to be pretty cool, and we're going to definitely be looking forward to that. So anyway, up next on the docket we have Apple launches new power button sleep and wake replacement program for iPhone 5 users. So a lot of people have this problem with their iPhone. Now this happens on the iPhone 5. It doesn't always happen to everyone's iPhone. I do have the iPhone 5. I have a black iPhone 5, and I think it's the 32 gig. And my dad actually has the same iPhone. He also has the iPhone 5 32 gig. And actually, it's been a little while, and it's been a little while since he got it launch day. He got the iPhone 5 launch day, so you can imagine how long it's been since then. But anyway, so he didn't actually have the issue. He just started really having the issue, like I'd say a couple of months ago. And basically what happened is the lock button's still there. It's still clickable, but it won't do anything. It's just like there's food stuck in it, or there's water stuck in it, or something stuck in it, and it's not making the lock button work. So it's happening for, to select iPhones. Like I said, I have the exact same model. It's running on the exact same carrier, Verizon. Maybe it was the fact that he got the day one edition. That could have been the reason why. Maybe it was something they fixed when they shipped newer iPhone 5s, because I got mine, I think it was like July. I think that's when I got my iPhone 5. But yeah, so that was a long, we're talking about from October to July. So that was months and months and months from that. That's a huge, month gap there. That's a lot of months, in between there. So they could have fixed that in the new shipments of the iPhone 5. I'm not really sure. But it looks like it's an ongoing issue, so I'm glad Apple's finally starting to address this, because it's been going on for a while. And I told my dad, he's like, I really would rather not, get a new phone. I guess I could deal with this for now, even though it kind of stinks because it's annoying. I would rather not have to pay for a new replacement phone. But I think what this program is going to allow you to do is it'll actually replace the lock button, or the sleep and wake button, as Apple calls it. And then you will not have to get a new phone. They just will replace the lock button. So I think that's a very reliable feature there. So you want to take the next one?
Sure. The next one is Tap to Unlock 7.
So, what is Tap to Unlock 7?
Well, Tap to Unlock, basically, usually when you have your Apple device, it says Slide to Unlocked. So, Tap to Unlock features a rectangle that you have to tap on that rectangle instead of sliding it, and it unlocks your phone like magic.
So, I'm just going to mention this now. I don't see anyone that's really watching this live, if anyone is. But I just want to mention, guys, that we are here live. And I'm going to put this in. Normally I cut this out when I say that, but I'm going to leave it in here because I want everyone to know that we do live Let's Talk Text. So I want to let everyone know that. And then if you guys want to know more about it, we'll tweet about it. We'll say it on our Google Plus page when it's going to go live and stuff like that. Okay, let's continue back on to what we were saying. So anyway, Tap to Unlock 7, it's a pretty cool jailbreak tweak. For the price, it is free. So, it's not like, oh, well, I'm paying $99 for a tweak that basically all it does is change Slide to Unlock to Tap to Unlock. Well, this was a little bit of an older tweak. It worked for iOS 6 and below, and it wasn't updated for iOS 7 until just recently. So it's been updated. So if you want to check it out, it's on Cydia on the Big Boss repo, and you can get it for free. So up next on the docket, we have basically, so this was going by old news because, again, we tried to do this last weekend and it wasn't working. So this is a little bit of older news, but iOS 7.1.1 was issued to the public. So jailbreakers were advised to stay away. So basically what 7.1.1 did is it's the next iteration in the 7.1 series. Just like with 6.1, they had 6.1.1 and 6.1.2 and 6.1.3 all the way up to 6.1.6 on the iPod Touch 4th generation to end it. But yeah, so who knows how many iterations of iOS 7 they're going to have. My feeling is they're not going to have too much more just because iOS 8 is slowly, coming. It's going to be previewed at WWDC. There's going to be betas. I mean, it's going to, unless iOS 7, unless they find a lot of bugs and, there's a lot of UI elements and a lot of different other improvements that they could do for 7.1.1. They released 7.1.2 or 7.1.3 or whatever, and they need to address some bugs or do some little tweaking to the UI or whatever it is. But really, the snappiness of the iOS and everything was really fixed in 7.1. So that's going to be really awesome to see that being jailbroken, but I don't see that being jailbroken in the foreseeable future. It's going to be a while before that gets jailbroken. But anyway, so like I was saying, so basically this does not do anything more or less for the jailbreak community. It does still patch the Evasion 7 jailbreak, unfortunately. So those of you guys who are like, oh, a new firmware came out, maybe I'll be able to upgrade to this and I'll be able to keep my jailbreak. Well, unfortunately, that's not the way it works. So if an iOS 7.1 jailbreak comes out, it'll now support 7.1.1 as well. So 7.1.1 comes with Touch ID improvements and a bunch of other stuff, mainly Touch ID improvements for the iPhone 5S. So if you're already on 7.1 and you already forfeited your jailbreak on your iPhone 5S, then I would definitely say 100% you should update to iOS 7.1.1 on that iPhone. So anyway, what do you think about 7.1?
Well, I haven't tested it yet.
Yeah,
upgraded.
Yeah, we're not going to be, unless, there was actually a story a little while ago I remember hearing on YouTube. I don't know the guy's name, but there was a story. Oh, I think his name is Apple Tech Spot on YouTube. So if you want to go check him out, his link will be his channel link will be in the description below. But he had an awesome channel for jailbreak tweaks and stuff. And basically what happened was he basically screwed himself over because he installed something that he needed to remove and he couldn't remove it on Cydia, so he had to go into iFile and remove it. And basically he removed the wrong file and he basically removed all the Apple stock applications, meaning the phone app was gone, the calculator app was gone, the weather app, everything that comes on your phone stock was just completely gone for him. And there was no way to get it back because, there was just, he couldn't access Cydia, so there was no way to, get iLux or at Restore and just start new and, still have Cydia and still be jailbroken. He couldn't do that because he was not able to access Cydia either. So for that, for that purpose, if that ever happens to us, then I guess, unfortunately, we will be testing 7.1 and other iterations of it as well. But if there is a jailbreak for 7.1, I know I'm definitely going to update to that. But I do not see that being jailbroken in the foreseeable future. But I could be wrong. What do you think, Max?
Well, we probably will see a jailbreak in the future. It's just we are busy anticipating it, but we don't know how long it will take.
Yeah, so I think someone's going to finally break someone because they've been asking, I've seen this go down like days and days and days on Twitter. They've been asking, I hate snow and WinOCM, 7.1 jailbreak, 7.1 jailbreak, that's all they've been saying. So I feel like they're going to break them and they're finally going to say, okay, here you go, here's the iOS 7.1 jailbreak. That's kind of what they did for 7.0 and, 7.0.6. Sort of. I mean, they rushed it out a little bit, and we talked about this a lot. They rushed it out a little bit because it was kind of like a competition. They didn't have much time, so they just kind of said, here you go, here's the jailbreak. They did not give any indications at all that when Chinese users would jailbreak their iPhones or iPads or whatever, it would install another default application called Taiji. That was a Chinese cracked app store, and the evaders got money for it, and it was a whole big thing. Everyone got mad at them. So I think after that, I think the jailbreak community kind of needs to chill out for a little while. Because, I mean, in the regards to jailbreaking tools and stuff like that, and when it's getting released, and how it's being released and stuff like that. So I don't think we're going to see anything from the evaders at all regarding the 7.1 jailbreak. That will probably not happen. If anything happens, it'll probably be either iHateSnow, WinOCM, or GeoHot maybe if he returns to the jailbreak scene, or maybe even Surik. Who knows at this point? But like I said, at this point, they're not. We're not going to see anything definitely for weeks and weeks and weeks. I wouldn't even expect anything. We have no indication at all. There's fake accounts that have been saying that, the iOS 7.1 X jailbreak is available. It's fully untethered for all devices. You can get it for only $49.95. Well, just like the iOS 7.0 jailbreak, when different scamming companies were doing that, they were handing it out and basically said, look, we have it for money. If you want it, just contact us and pay the money, and then you can get it. Well, that's not what happens. It's basically a troll, and it's a scam. Because then if you pay the money, what are they going to send you? It's not a legit jailbreak. It won't be able, if anything, it'll probably give you a virus on your computer. It'll probably mess up your phone. It'll probably give them root access, and they'll probably inject a bunch of random code into your phone. So I'm just going to say, for all the scammer websites that are out there that say, yeah, the iOS 7.1 jailbreak is available. It is not available. So if you want, you can follow, the official guys' Twitter, and you get updates all the time about, when jailbreaks are coming out. And it's better to stay, it's better to do that instead. So would I love to see a 7.1 jailbreak? Of course, and I think everyone would. But final answer, we're just not going to see it for a really long time. So that's why it's advised that jailbreakers stay away from iOS 7.1.1. Okay. So up next on the docket, I feel like we talked about that forever. So up next on the docket, a cool. Now I put this on here because I thought it was it was kind of like a weird thing I saw on multiple websites were reporting this. I think I saw it first on IDB, and then I saw it on somewhere else. So basically, now Apple's doing like a charity thing where you can now have lunch with Apple CEO Tim Cook for a sizable charity donation. So that means if you pay like $1 million or something, you're able to have lunch with Tim Cook. So that's pretty cool. I gotta say, it's pretty. That would be pretty awesome to have lunch with Tim Cook. But of course, I mean, the lunch will be paid for if it's a sizable donation. But airfare and if you're staying there for multiple days and it's not just one day, then also hotel rooms and stuff like that you would have to pay for. So food is paid for, but airfare and hotel rooms are not paid for. So that's something to know. If you're across the country and you're like, oh wow, maybe I could win this. If I give them maybe a couple $1,000s, maybe I can win this and see Tim Cook. Well, one, you'd have to pay for airfare, so it'd be more than that. And two, I don't think they'd let you do that. So anyway, what do you think? Do you think it's interesting?
Well, it's something like out of the blue, like it's random, like you wouldn't expect that to happen. So, I mean, it would be an honor to have lunch with Tim Cook. You would have a lot to talk about. You would have a lot of things to just discuss with him.
I'd be like, hey, Timmy, there's this thing, called Jailbreak. I was wondering if maybe you can incorporate some of the jailbreak tweaks that developers have pushed out to your products, and maybe you can actually make iOS better. They really need to get on that. Like, I'm actually serious. They really need to get on that, and they really need to improve iOS, iOS, not stability, but they really need to improve the elements of iOS. I mean, Control Center, that was kind of, that was basically an Apple ripoff of NC Settings. That's basically what Control Center is. It allows you to swipe up from the bottom, which you could do from NC Settings on a jailbroken iPhone lower than iOS 7, and you were able to access toggles to turn off Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 3G, LTE, whatever, whatever toggles were there, you were able to turn off brightness, sound. You could get media controls from there and stuff like that. So that was not an Apple original, and that's kind of something to talk about there. That's something for that just opened up another can of worms there. That's something for another podcast. But anyway, so this actually would be really it'd be a huge honor to talk about. To have lunch with him, that'd be a huge honor. But we wouldn't be able to get anything out of him. No iWatch details, no iPhone 6 details, no, none of that stuff. No, iTV, no Apple TV, 4th generation details. We wouldn't be able to get any of that because, just the way Tim Cook and everyone else is, they don't like to give stuff like that away too easily. So anyway, so I definitely think it'd be really cool to have lunch with Tim Cook, but I don't see that happening, at least for me, because I live 3,000 miles away. Especially since I'm not that rich either. I live 3,000 miles away. I kind of doubt that would happen unless he came to the East Coast, and then maybe, but I don't know. Anyway, up next on the docket we have OXO 2 for iPad. Now, OXO 2 is really, really, really awesome. So, Max, you want to talk about your experience with OXO 2? I mean, I know you don't have an iPad, so unfortunately you have no experience with the iPad version. I do, though, so I'm going to talk about that for a little bit. But what are some of your experiences? I know when it first came out, I was like, oh my God, OXO 2's out. Max, you got to install it. And then you were like, okay, and you installed it, and then it just booted your phone into safe mode. So you want to talk about a little bit about your experience?
The negative side or the good side?
Well, both.
Alright, so at first, I think it was the OXO 2 beta that I got, and when I installed it first, it booted me into safe mode, and then at the top of my screen when I pressed exit safe mode or whatever that thing is called, I went to exit it, and it put me back into safe mode.
So it was just kind of like an endless safe mode type thing. Like, you couldn't get out of it even if you wanted to, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Without removing it. So, so they were obviously, it was in beta, and as Max talked about, and it wasn't really, I don't think at that point in the beta when you tested it out, I don't think it was actually optimized for the iPhone 4S, which is what Max has. I think it was for like iPhone 5 and above. I think that was what it was optimized for. So that could have been the reason why you were experiencing those issues. And I talked to A3 Tweaks, and when it finally went public, when it actually did release, and it did get out there, and it got out of the beta stage, and everything was fine, then I think everyone was okay. So you want to talk about the positive side?
Sure. So I would like to say a couple weeks after OXO 2 did get officially released, I got OXO 2, and it worked beautifully. And I've had it since that day.
Not to mention you had Vertex there, too.
Yeah, I had Vertex.
Anyway, so that's something to note. I want to make sure, because Max didn't know that. He was like, why isn't this working? And I was like, because you have Vertex installed still. So if you have any other, multitasking tweaks that would be conflicting with that, just make sure you know that before you're installing OXO 2. Because OXO 2 was on top of Vertex because he still had Vertex installed. So I had to go in and manually uninstall Vertex, and then everything was good and everything was fine. But you want to make sure that you're good and you're accounted for and everything's okay. So, so OXO 2 for iPad is basically the same thing, except it's on the iPad. It's basically a blown-up version of the iPhone, one. And it fixes, so this actually, OXO 2 iPad compatibility came in the 1.1 update, and basically what was happening when it first came out is it was acting really weird, and it was saying, don't pirate and stuff, and it was saying open Cydia and get the real version of this tweak, even though I actually had it legitly. So it was a bug, and I contacted A3 Tweaks about it, and people were, spamming A3 Tweaks about it. Like, why is it coming up? Why does it say I'm a pirate? I got this tweak legitly from the big boss. I paid how many ever so dollars, $3.99, $2.99, depending upon if you already had OXO 1 installed on a previous device, if you already had bought it. I paid $2.99, $3.99 for this, and still it was giving me this message that I pirated the tweak. So what's going on? So I contacted A3 Tweaks about it, and basically on the 1.1 update they had it fixed. But it came with that, and it also came with iPad compatibility on 1.1. So basically, like I said, the 1.1 edition of OXO 2 basically added iPad support and fixed that. And I got to tell you, it works fantastic. It works really, really good. So I did notice we had one person viewing. Let me just see. Okay. Well, he's gone now, I think. Yeah. I saw one viewer, and then it just went to 0. Anyway, so wait, what were we talking about? Yeah, okay, so OXO 2 for iPad is basically, like I said, just a blown-up version of OXO 2 for the iPhone and for the iPod, and it continues to be one of my favorite multitasking tweaks. It still has that bug where when you swipe up from the bottom on the right-hand corner with the hot corners, it gets delayed by a couple of seconds. It still has that bug, but hopefully they should fix that in the next couple of iterations of OXO 2, and I really hope, they do fix that. So anyway, up next on the docket, we have new upcoming jailbreak tweak, Slices. Now, again, this was outdated news. Slices did actually come out, I think, yesterday or the day before in the Big Boss repo. I think it's selling for about $2.99, and basically this tweak is groundbreaking. So do you want to talk a little bit about this, Max?
Sure. I might not be an expert on Slices, but I still know a little bit about it. And no, I do not know why I don't know how they chose the name Slices.
To tell you the truth, I don't think anyone does. It was Slices. Like, it sounds like slices of an apple or slices of, like, it was like slices. Like, how could you get that name from a tweak that, what it's doing is it's not related to slices at all. It's not slicing up. It's not slicing up iOS to give you a completely different experience. That's not what it's doing. So anyway, yeah, so I don't know how they got the name Slices. But anyway, basically, I guess I'll explain it. So basically what Slices is it's basically a really fantastic tweak that basically what it allows you to do, I'll use Instagram for, an example. So basically what this allows you to do is you can actually tap on Instagram with this thing installed. You can go in the settings panel and configure it and to actually work on touch. But you create a new slice. So let's say I wanted my personal account on there. And the one thing that I hate about Instagram is Instagram makes it really hard for you to switch accounts, right? You got to go into Me, and you got to go into the settings thing, and then you got to hit log out, and then you got to log back in. And I just feel like it takes more time than it should. And it works a lot better. That experience works a lot better on Twitter because you just go to the Me tab and you hold it down, and then there you go, bam, there's another account, and you can sign in, and it only takes another second. You don't have to authenticate it with any passwords because you're already pre-signed in from there. So what this tweak allows you to do is basically pre-sign in accounts. So let's say for Instagram, I have my personal account signed in, and I also wanted to add Mac Tutorials 14's account. So what I would do is I would create a new slice for Mac Tutorials 14's account, and then what I would do is I would actually sign in with that. I would sign in with my Mac Tutorials 14 username and password, and then like that, I would just be able to go out of it, then go back on, onto Instagram. It would ask me which one I wanted. If I wanted, dburns14, I would just hit dburns14, my personal account, and bam, there we go. It's loaded in, and it didn't even take that long. And then if I wanted to back out of it and go into Mac Tutorials 14's account, there we go, bam. So it's a very awesome tweak. And I'll just tell you, that was the social media aspect, but it actually does work with games also. So if it's kind of like a save slate kind of thing too. So if you kind of, let's say, on a specific, game, you had something that let's say I could do this, even though this isn't going to be equivalent because there is no real, Black Ops Zombies on the iPhone or on iOS devices, really, with the equivalent of Xbox. But let's say, if you guys will get this if you played Xbox 360 Black Ops 2 on Zombies. But let's say you hit the box. You might not get this analogy, Max, because I'm not sure if you play Black Ops 2, but you hit the box, and then once you hit the box, let's say you get a ray gun. Oh my god, it's a ray gun. Wow. The ray gun is amazing. So let's say you get the ray gun, and then accidentally, so you get the ray gun, and then you use this tweak slices to save that game slot, and then after you're done, let's say after you're done saving that, let's say by accident you switch the ray gun out for the PDW, or not the PDW. Let's say it was the ray gun for the I don't even know. I'm drawing MTAR. Let's say it was the ray gun for the MTAR, and you were really mad about it because you liked the ray gun. So what you could do is you could just go back to that save game slot where you save the ray gun. You just tap on that, and bam, there you go. You're back to where you had the ray gun. So it's kind of like it works for social media, but it also works really, really great for games too, as like a save game slot. So have you tested this tweak out yet, Max?
No, I did not.
No? You think you'll get it after the show?
Maybe.
Okay. So I know I talked about that for a while. So up next on the docket, we have Siri possibly coming to Apple TV. Now, I don't know where this originated from. I heard about it on a couple different blogs. But some people were saying that, someone found some sort of code in, one of the Apple TVs. And it was one of the codes inside, the Apple TV, and it basically had the Siri code. It basically said like voice command or whatever, and it basically showed that there was a Siri key, on an Apple TV. So that could mean in the next, on the next Apple TV, either on the next Apple TV or the next firmware update for the Apple TV, we might actually be seeing Siri come to the Apple TV. So it might just be like, it might be a modified version of Siri just to fit the Apple TV. Now I know I know Xbox has this, with Smart Glass, or not Smart Glass. They have it with Xbox, with Kinect. They have it, where you say Xbox and then it comes up. It might be something similar where you say Siri and then Siri comes up, and then you can tell it what to do. So it's kind of like a voice command thing instead of, Siri, where you ask it questions and you answer it, and it answers it for you. It might be a little bit different, and that's something else to think about. Or it might be the exact same as the iPhone and iOS device version. It might just be where it's, Siri, and then Siri pops up on the Apple TV. Siri, what's the weather like today in Cupertino? And then it shows you it's 53 and sunny today in Cupertino, California. So, it could be something like that. It could be, like I said, a modified version of Siri where it's like with the Xbox where, it's voice command only and it really doesn't, it's really not Siri. So, do you think you would pick up an Apple TV just for Siri?
No.
Yeah, neither do I. I like Siri. I think Siri's useful, but to be completely honest, Siri is not something that I would definitely 100% buy the Apple TV for. Now, let's say, for example, the Apple TV has Siri. It has, motion control where you can swipe your hand over a camera on the Apple TV, and it senses it, and it lets you move it with your hand, kind of like Kinect technology. And let's say it had an app store, and it was new, and it was different, and it was all this. Maybe I would consider getting an Apple TV, but just for Siri, I wouldn't get an Apple TV. Anyway, so up next on the docket, this was actually kind of surprising. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just clearing my throat.
Okay, so. All right, I guess we'll start over from there. We had a perfect podcast, then you had to. It's fine.
Sorry.
It was 100% perfect except for that one part. All right, we'll just start from the beginning of that topic. All right, so up next on the docket we have unflood virus. So if you don't know what this is, basically this was floating around Reddit for a while. This actually happened a couple of weeks ago. I'd say 2 or 3 weeks ago. This was floating around Reddit and around Twitter and all over the place. And basically what had happened is someone was installing, cracked sources on their iPhone, and then they were browsing their phone's library through iFile, and they noticed a weird file called unflood.plist. So they opened up the file, executed the codes and the commands inside the file, and they figured out, because they were a developer, they figured out that it was bad. They figured out that it was a virus, basically. So, this one guy reported it on Reddit, and then a bunch of people started reporting in and saying, yeah, I'm getting this unflood.plist too, what's going on, how is this happening, what should we do, and all that kind of stuff. So this is this is the big jailbroken issue right now. So this is kind of what everyone's afraid of right now at this point. And I gotta say, there really hasn't been many known viruses for jailbroken iOS in a while. I can't really remember the last time someone had reported a jailbroken virus. But it can happen because it is bypassing Apple's security locks that they put on an iOS device. So it's not to say that a virus can't happen on a jailbroken device. It's just to say that it's highly, highly, highly unlikely, and it never, ever, ever at all happens unless you install something fishy. So that's why for now, at least until, the days of a new jailbreak or whatever, until, people stop getting this unflood.plist, virus, I would just consider, knowing what you're installing, getting history about it. Don't just install it because you see it pop up on Cydia and then you're saying, oh, well, okay, this tweak looks useful. I'm going to install it because it's free. Well, you got to make sure that it's safe. You got to make sure people reviewed it, people like it. It's safe. It doesn't do anything wrong to your phone. It doesn't crash it in the safe mode. It doesn't put it into recovery mode. It doesn't have to make you force restore. It doesn't give you that unflood.plist, virus. You got to be really careful, especially considering that you are no longer able to, you're no longer able to restore to iOS 7.0.6 or below. Now, if you restore, it forces you to restore to iOS 7.1.1, unfortunately. And any new iterations of iOS 7, it will force you to install for that. So that's something really, critical. You really want to make sure you're okay and you're accounted for. You want to make sure that you don't install anything that could potentially screw your device up, and then you're basically out of luck until, iOS 8 gets released and there's a new jailbreak. So anyway, did you see this on your device yet?
No, I did not.
Yeah, so basically only select people have it. I checked already, I don't have it. But basically only select people have it, that if you add sources like Chinese sources that allow for cracked applications, cracked tweaks, cracked themes, everything cracked, such as Chinese sources, not like, Sinful iPhone Repo or, Insanely or Bite Your Apple or any of them. Not that I'm encouraging any of them or endorsing them. I have installed pirated tweaks just because, for the sake of, I don't have any money, that I'm willing to spend on these tweaks at the time. And then normally what I do is I end up buying the official version. That's what I did with Barrel. That's what I did with Springtomize 3. That's what I did with a lot of tweaks. So, for the try before you buy aspect, it's, sources like that are pretty good, but you want to make sure that you're installing a source that's reliable. If you're installing one of those sources, you want to make sure it's a reliable source. You don't want to be installing a complete Chinese source that you're just hearing of now, and it's got a bunch of Chinese tweaks and themes and a bunch of Chinese things that you can't even read, but you install something, and then you get this unflood.plist virus because of that. So that's something to note, and that's why you really have to be careful now, especially since there is no way to restore and simply go back to a jailbroken iPhone, iPad, or iPod on iOS 7.0.6 or below. Felt like I talked a whole lot there. So anyway, what do you think about the unflood virus?
It's something that has been, I guess, in the news lately, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's been floating around Reddit for a little while. People are starting to get it less and less because they figured out, okay, well, this is really only, a crack source error. Like if you legitly buy App Store apps and you legitly buy tweaks and themes and mods and everything for your iOS device, and you don't have any crack sources on Cydia whatsoever, then you should be completely fine and you have nothing to worry about. And that's something too. It's only happening to select people. So if you guys want to go ahead and see it, see if you have it on your phone. It is recommended if your phone is jailbroken and you do have iFile installed. It is recommended if you think you may have the unflood.plist. It is recommended that you go check. I think it's in the library, and I think it's like documents, and I don't know exactly. I'll post a link to it where you can find the directory of where it would be if you had it. And if you do have it, basically, and this is what some people were reporting also, it's unfortunately not as simple as just hitting the delete button. You also, it's also advised that you have to change your Apple ID, you have to do a couple of other things. So I would say if you're getting that unflood.plist file that you should delete it, you should change your Apple ID password, because it does let you actually, let hackers actually remotely get into your Apple ID, whether you have it or not, if for some reason you don't change it. So, anyway, yeah, so that's it for that. I felt like I talked a whole lot on that. So anyway, up next on the docket is really, really surprising. I think this was the coolest thing that I think came out of the news in the past couple of weeks. So Apple opens Mac OS X betas to the public. So what this means now is without a $99 developer's account, you can go on Apple's website and you can actually request for OS X betas. So you don't have to wait until they publicly get released. You can just request for them, and then you're able to get them through your Apple ID through requests. So it's actually a pretty cool thing, considering that they have not done this at all. Hopefully, I really hope they start doing this, especially for iOS. It would be great if they did this for iOS. That way anyone could test iOS 8 if they wanted to. People have got to understand, and this is, I think, why Apple made it so exclusive in the beginning. You had to pay $99 for this and everything. You had to be eligible for this. Some things that I think people don't understand when they install betas. It's a beta. It's not going to be 100% perfect. It's going to have a lot of bugs, a lot of UI elements that aren't good at all, that should be corrected in the next beta. A lot of different bugs and issues and errors. And a lot of different things. So that's the first thing that I think people have to realize that they're installing betas. It's like a jailbroken device. You're going to have things that are going to crash. You're going to have bugs. You're going to have issues, every so often, every once in a while. But even then, sometimes it outweighs the fact that you're going to have all these bugs and issues and stuff like that. So if it comes to iOS, do you think you're going to beta test iOS 8?
Yes.
Because I know me and you have beta tested iOS 7 through the other way, through that method of, picking the firmware in iTunes and then hitting check for update. But what Apple did in iOS 7.1, I think it was beta 4, they actually figured out that people were doing that and they patched that. So hopefully, I'm really, really hoping that this comes to iOS as well, because now if it doesn't come to iOS, I'm completely screwed, because I can't test iOS 8 at all. I can't beta test it at all. And that's going to really suck for people that have been relying on this, for people that like beta testing things and don't want to pay the $99 just to get the developer's account, just to be able to test betas. And I somewhat think if all they're going to do is beta test things, and they're not going to develop any tweaks or not tweaks. They're not going to develop any applications or anything for Apple. I think it's kind of a waste of $99. I think those $99 can go somewhere else, somewhere, that you can better use $99 for. But anyway, what's your opinion about this, Max?
Wait a minute.
You're lost, aren't you?
No, I think I exited out of the list for a second.
Well, you know what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to hold the
Right,
list.
I'll give you a second to do it. I'll just sit here. It doesn't really matter, though, because we're going to cut this part of it out anyway.
All right, Max.
All right, you ready to start again?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So wait,
back to the
wait,
topic.
let me. Okay. All right. So what do you think about this, Max?
Well, the betas are something that people should have, like, usually when we wanted to beta test iOS 7, we pirated it, of course,
Because we
and
didn't have
we,
$99.
yeah. So, I think opening it to the public would make it a lot safer and make it a whole lot better.
And to be completely honest, I think in the long run, they're going to be saving a lot of money too. Um, Even though that sounds ridiculous, seeing as people are giving them $99 just to be able to beta test things legally. But I think it would definitely save people a lot of money and a lot of time, as well as Apple too, because they're going to get revenue, even though they're not getting paid directly for having beta accounts. They're still going to be, or having developer accounts, they're still going to be getting ad revenue, or not ad revenue. They're still going to get revenue from downloads and from the iOS betas and everything. So it's not like they're not complete. It's not like if they did this, they would completely be out of money for this portion. They would still be able to get money that way, and I think that's something that I think people would love that. Would love to beta test it legally if it were possible without paying $99. So anyway, so the next thing that we have to talk about next up on the docket is better power down. Now, I know me and Max and I have talked about this a lot. Max, you kind of want to break this down for us a little bit and talk about what this is?
Sure thing. So, better power down. Very interesting tweak, if you ask me. So I got better power down, I would like to say, a week ago. Exactly a week ago. And, what better power down does is you can change it back to the old slide when you hold down the power button, the slide to turn the power off, slide to reboot, or slide to respring. I think you can do that. That's an option in the settings, I think.
I think so. It sounds about right.
And then I think it also features, I think it's the update for iOS 7.1.
Yes. So I was checking Twitter, so I wasn't 100% there. So that's why I just kept saying yes. But anyway, so yeah, so what he's talking about, I did hear though. So what he's talking about is it actually functions with a tweak that we talked about this, I think, in the first or second episode. Wow, it's going back a lot now. It's actually a tweak called Repower, and it functions with this tweak. Now, there's a lot of controversy surrounding, Better Power Down, just because of the fact that Better Power Down and Repower they're not, developed by the same person. And a lot of people are saying that basically the developer of Better Power Down just randomly decided to incorporate the same code of Repower that it would function with, without basically contacting the developer of Repower and basically saying, hey, we want to use your tweak in my tweak. How about it? What do you think? And, they would beta test it and all those things. And so that's why it's a huge controversy with that. A lot of people are saying, well, if that happened, it looks a little bit fishy. If they didn't tell the actual developer, it just looks a little bit fishy that way. But yeah, so it does come with two different styles. The iOS 7.1 style power down, if you know what I'm talking about. It's like the little so when it says slide to power off, if you're jailbroken, you have that normal little 7.0.6 and below. But for 7.1, it's a different slide to power off, and it has like a little power button, a little circular power button, and you just slide that. So with better power down, you can get that same slider. And also with this with Repower installed, you can also have slide to respring, slide to reboot, and stuff like that, like Max was talking about. And then also, if you have your device themed for iOS 6, then you can actually add the iOS 6 slide to power off slider, which is actually pretty cool. So you can I played around with it, and it actually kind of makes me miss the iOS 6 days a little bit. It feels like, it really hasn't been too long now that I think about it since iOS 7 was released. It was released back in October. So if you think about it, it really has not been that long, but it just feels like it's been forever since we've been on iOS 6. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a huge throwback. Like it makes me remember the old days. So anyway, so yeah, so this tweak is, I believe it's like 199 or 299 in Cydia's Big Boss repo, and I would definitely 100% say if you're looking for something, to modify, your slide to power off, little slider, then I would definitely say 100% this is something you want to check out. So anyway, guys, yeah. So do you want to make any more comments about Better Power Down?
Nope.
Okay, so up next on the docket, this is one of the last topics that we have, and then we will round up for the day, is we have key fault. Now, key fault actually was requested. It was a tweak that was requested by this guy named Jim from iDownloadBlog, and basically what this allows you to do is it allows you, now I'm not sure if you know, but on stock iOS, basically what you do, so I'll basically, explain this tweak. So on stock iOS, if you have, let's say you have two different keyboards, you have the English keyboard and you have the emoji keyboard. Well, in stock iOS, to change between those two, you have to hit the little world button at the bottom left-hand corner, right? So what that allows you to do is it allows you to switch to the emoji one. So basically what this allows you to do, if you're sending a text with emojis, and then after that you want to back out of that app and you want to go in the spotlight, basically what stock iOS does is it still keeps the emoji keyboard up. So actually the nice thing about key fault, and I've tested this out, it actually, when you back out of it and go in the spotlight or whatever, what it'll actually do is it'll set it back to the device's the device's original language, the original keyboard language. So that would mean if you were on emoji and you left it on emoji and you backed out and went in the spotlight to search for something, it would pop up as the English keyboard, and you wouldn't have to waste that that extra second just to switch it over. So it's a little bit annoying, on stock iOS how that happens. I could definitely see this. It is free on the Big Boss repo, definitely. There's no reason why it would cost any money. But yeah, so this is definitely a really awesome tweak, to discuss. What do you think about it? I know you probably haven't tested it, right?
No, I have not.
You think you will?
Maybe in the near future.
I mean, it's not. It's one of those it's one of those improvements that just lets you it lets you save a second of the time. It's really not there for much of any really major improvement. That's one of that's one of these other things. Now the next thing, I'm just gonna skip over the next thing on our list real fast because I want to talk about this. Now it's not on our list. Because I forgot to put it on here, unfortunately. But it's a new tweak that was developed by it was I don't know the developer's name, but it was designed by Jeff Benjamin from iDownloadBlog, and it's called Hold to Speak. So basically, what this allows you to do, this is actually a pretty useful tweak if you're on speakerphone all the time when you're calling someone. So basically, when you get a phone call, all you have to do is tap and hold on the slide to answer. And then you don't even have to press the little circular speak button. It automatically puts you on speakerphone. So that's pretty useful, as well as I think you can also go to contacts in the newest update. I haven't really looked at the newest update just because I haven't used. Let me just go see. I have my iPhone here. Let me just see what this does real quickly. You mind calling me for a sec, Max?
Oh yeah, sure.
Just to test this out. I have my ringer down. I just want to see how it works because I haven't. I'm sorry about this. I probably should have tested this earlier, but I forgot to. Okay, so yeah. So then when I tap on answer, it automatically puts me into the speakerphone. Okay, so it's automatically in the speakerphone when I do that. All right, I'm gonna hang up because it's gonna. Okay, so yeah, so I tested it. It is pretty awesome. It's called Hold to Speak. It's available in Cydia's Big Boss repo for free, and it is co-developed, or I should say, co-designed by Jeff Benjamin from iDownloadBlog. So it's definitely it's another one of those tweaks that would save you a lot of time. And in the end, it would be probably a really good tweak. Do you think you'll install it, Max?
Possibly.
Okay. So anyway, going on the last thing on the docket, and then unfortunately we're gonna have to wrap up for the day. The last thing on the docket is Samsung is planning. Now I heard this on IDB. Samsung is planning a health-related announcement before WWDC. So this is a little bit weird just because of the fact that, the iWatch and iOS 8 is supposed to incorporate health, right? So now Samsung is probably saying, uh-oh, Apple's beating us now because we have nothing like this. We don't have any iWatch. We don't have any health-related things. So you know what? Now we're going to create, where it can measure your blood pressure and measure your blood levels and how many steps you walked and everything that Apple's doing, we're going to try to do, but we're going to try to do it in a different way. So it kind of seems a little bit suspicious there. It's kind of like Samsung is planning something big, but it's kind of actually funny, right? Because it's literally days. They planned it literally days before WWDC when we're supposed to see somewhat of an iWatch announcement, maybe. Or no, we're definitely supposed to see a preview of iOS 8, which could incorporate the HealthBook app that we've been hearing so much about. So I think that might be the reason why. It's kind of a little bit ironic when you think about it. So it's kind of funny that Samsung is deciding to do this. Maybe it's just because they need, they said, okay, we need to give them competition. The Galaxy S5 isn't doing too well right now because the iPhone 5S is doing well. So we need to give them a run for their money, and we need to do better. So I kind of think it's a little bit funny that it's totally so ironic like that. Maybe it's just pure coincidence. It actually would be really funny if it's pure coincidence. But I don't think it's pure coincidence, to be completely honest, because it's literally days before WWDC, only a couple of days before WWDC, where Apple will supposedly announce iOS 8. So it really sounds like Samsung's trying to plan something big here. So who knows if whatever they plan will be successful. I have no idea. But anyway, what do you think about this, Max?
It's a very interesting topic to talk about, if you ask me, because we basically have two big companies that are in like a back and forth war. So it's like Apple does something good, Samsung wants to do that, but they want to change it somehow. Apple recognizes that, and then they want to change that somehow.
So it's kind of like a complete back and forth, cat and mouse chase kind of thing. So first it was, the iPhone 5S with the Touch ID sensor. Then after that, Samsung saw that the iPhone 5S was doing so good because of Touch ID. So then on the Galaxy S5, guess what? A biometric fingerprint sensor came out on the Galaxy S5 that basically is the exact same thing for the 5S, except it's just implemented a little bit differently into the Galaxy S5. Another thing is the fact that they added water resistance to the Galaxy S5. Now, this is something that Apple did not do for the iPhone 5S, simply because no phone's going to be completely water resistant. It's not possible because water and electronics don't mix. So it's just not possible. But with the water resistance, if you happen to get a few splashes here and there of water, if you drop it in a pool or something, as long as it's not like, bigger than like a foot or 2 feet or whatever, then it probably wouldn't affect it too much if you put it in the water for a couple of seconds. But if it's in there for a long amount of time, then it will eventually, like any other phone, it will eventually just die out. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. So anyway, yeah, guys, that is high private. What's that mean? Okay. All right, I don't know what that means. But anyway, we're going to wrap up now. So, yeah, that's it for Let's Talk Tech episode number 11. Always a pleasure, Max.
Yep.
All right, same time next week.
Sure thing.
Okay. All right. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.